Today, I'm going to explain the things that happen months before a band ever goes on stage in a professional show. Thanks for joining me at Smith Music. My name is Paul Smith, and I bring you in the studio and backstage, as well as do gear reviews and show musicians how to build music careers. I'd like to thank the St. Albert Kinsman for allowing me to have cameras backstage at this year's Rainmaker concert series and letting me take you backstage. They're an amazing service club that donates time, money, and support to their community. During the filming of one night of this event, Stephen Defoe, who's a journalist and owns Soaring Pig Studios, followed my journey managing this concert and asked questions along the way. Here's what my answer was as to what goes into the preparation for an event for 4,000 to 5,000 concert goers. So months before booking a gig, there's a whole process of trying to find the bands that are going to be appropriate for the venue. And bands typically will kind of hold off booking a gig because they might get a better offer. So there's always this kind of push and pull back and forth, and you have to start advertising like 6 weeks ahead of time, easy, like at minimum, announce the bands. Now, with an event like this that's pretty established, people know it's going to be a cool band. So that gives you a little bit of leeway. But then as soon as they're booked, you have to make sure that you can have backline, which is personal gear and PA and staging and all that. And the thing is, when you're near a big metropolitan area, your event is not the only one happening. So you might be fighting over stages with people. So you book it early. So you don't want to be the last event that books because you might not get crucial stuff that you need. And then you have to advance. So I call all the tour managers for the bands and go through, is this rider still accurate? Because it's not uncommon to get a rider from 2014 and it's 2019. Is the tour manager even still tour managing for them? Finding out all of those kinds of things and then looking at it and saying, oh, we've changed, we don't need this guitar rig, we need a different one. So going through all of that kind of stuff and then making sure it's going to be on budget, because there's always a budget and you have to find, and there's usually some give and take between the band and the production company on how to make it work. And then oftentimes there's hitches where you run into a snag where a band doesn't want to give up on a piece of equipment that we think they maybe can, and you have to work through all of that. And so that's kind of the months beforehand, and then also getting crews organized, because this is a crew of 15 people, and at any one time there'll be 9 happening, and we're rotating people through. So you have to make sure you have your people organized, all of those kinds of things. So it's really good practice to be starting that 4 months ahead of the event, depending on the size. If there's even more bands and bigger bands, you want to be 6 months a year. If you're finding this video helpful, I'd really appreciate you liking and subscribing to my channel.
And so talk to me about how that ramps up through month 3, month 2, month 1, week 2, week 1 goes on.
Yeah. So for me, when I'm talking to tour managers and stuff, a lot, they don't really even want to talk to you before a month before the event. Some will, but because their people are stable, everything is the same. This particular event is usually the kickoff to their summer season. So they are typically not quite as organized where they have everything all, transitioned out. I do as much of that advancing as I can in, the months before, but I do the things I can control, like my crew, getting my crew, making sure that I have all of that stuff, looking at the major things on the rider that we know we have to provide that are going to be, and that may be tough to provide, like we have a vintage Rhodes for 5440, it's a 1970s Rhodes, so you got to make sure you book it early. And so we have it. And and then as we ramp up, so then 1 month out is where it gets really busy. So you go from a few calls a week to, doing things to a month out is now confirming that everything that you've pre-set up is all okay, and making final decisions on all the backline, making sure that the people that are running hospitality, so that's where the bands come in, they have all the correct information and you're going to have all the things that they need, making sure I get the rooming list so that we have hotels booked for them, and then 1 week before is the deadline that I have all the, who I need rooms for and their flight schedules, because we have to go pick them up at the airport, all of that kind of stuff. And then Show day is usually where you're picking people up in the morning, sometimes the day before. And so this week, for example, on Wednesday, we set up staging and got lights started. Thursday, we picked up backline, dropped it off, and tested it. And Thursday, the front of house and lighting was finished. And then Friday, show day, and Saturday will be show day, and then Sunday, we tear it all down. And tear down goes a lot quicker than setup. If you have questions on preparing in advance for an event, post them in the comments and I'll be glad to answer them. To find links to any equipment or software used in this video, check out the description.